You already know what it is. Welcome back to another episode of Combat and Kick It with that cringy ass intro. But I'm excited because it's fight week. It's fight week. You got my breakdowns. You got my predictions. You know what it is already. But I'm just continuing staying active with the videos. I have to. I'm just going to continue uploading videos until them views go up. Until the subscribers go up. I'm going to continue, just rifling them off. But this one is more about this event, UFC 302. Alright, so I've done 2 episodes on UFC 302, so I'm going to keep this one brief. It's not going to be a long one, or a long part of the episode of me talking about 302. We're going to talk about other things UFC related, but I wanted to talk about another matchup that is really important on this card. Obviously, we know it's important. It's the co-main event matchup between Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa, right? The reason I say this is so important is because this really does give you an idea who you can possibly see back in for title contention, fighting for a belt soon, maybe at the end of the year, maybe something at the Sphere. Who knows what the case may be, what happens with Izzy and Dricus, we'll see. But we can have some interesting matchups, right? In any outcome, except for Dricus versus Paulo, we can get a rematch. If Izzy beats Dricus, right, and Sean beats Paulo, then the rematch between Izzy and Sean is on, right? In a weird sense, you'd be watching Izzy be champion again and Sean fighting as the challenger. So that would be kind of wild, right? Say Dricus beats Izzy, right? And Sean beats Paulo. Then you're talking about a rematch between Dricus and Sean, which is a rematch that Sean wants, right? Obviously, Izzy wants the rematch with Sean. Sean wants the rematch with Dricus, right? And I'm sure Paulo is sitting in the background saying, well, I got a rematch that I want too. So if Izzy beats Dricus and Paulo beats Sean Strickland, then there you go. That's your title shot. But wait, there's more. Because June is so fucking stacked. It is so incredibly stacked that we are getting not back-to-back amazing cards. We're getting an amazing card, little in-betweener, amazing card, back-to-back for the Saudi Arabia card and the UFC 303. But the Saudi Arabia card is extremely important for that middleweight division as well, because you got the former title holder, the former king of the division, Robert Whittaker, the freaking Reaper, is going up against one of the scariest guys with some of the most hype behind him. And I'm not saying hype is in like he's not about it. No, he's the truth, right? But a lot of people are still not fully sold on him, and that's Khamzat Chimaev. But this fight is huge too, because if Khamzat can get past Rob Whittaker, right, you're also talking about a potential matchup. But the thing about it is, if Sean and Paulo can put on, either way, whoever wins, put on a more impressive performance than Khamzat and Rob, then they will end up being the #1 contender. They will be next in line getting that title contention, right? If you look at the other aspect, if Rob or Khamzat, either one of them, get a finish, I don't even think the fight has to be crazy exciting. Just one of them has to get a finish, and you ain't skipping. You're not skipping the line. You're not skipping the line over a guy that would finish Robert Whittaker, and you're not going to skip over the line if somebody was to finish Khamzat Chimaev. And Robert Whittaker has that ability to beat anybody, and Khamzat has that capability to finish anybody. So it's a very interesting matchup. So the middleweight division is kind of shaken up, because we know Izzy and Dricus is coming up. I think towards the fall, more towards the fall. But that's a huge matchup. There's so much behind that, right? They've been in beef for for a few years now, right? So this was a matchup that was supposed to happen, and it ended up not happening, and that's why Sean got the title shot against Izzy in the first place. So you sit back and you look at this. You look at this middleweight division, and it's nice that we have a middleweight division that is on fire right now. It is literally on fire. There is so much going on, so many potential people in that division that are making noise, right? And then you also got a lot of names for the future of it. On the come up of the middleweight division, you got Anthony Hernandez, you got Bo Nickel, you got these guys that are on the come up in the middleweight division that are going to be very interesting at some point in time. But right now it's pretty shaken up, and I think it can continue to be shaken up, right? I think you can see if Dricus ends up beating Izzy, then man oh man, there are so many potential fights, because there we go again. If Dricus beats Izzy and say Sean and Paulo is boring, then you're talking about if Rob beats Hamzat, another rematch. Dricus and Rob, and that's for the title this time. That would be dope. That would be super dope. So no matter which way this goes, no matter which route this ends up going, this is fucking exciting. The middleweight division has some excitement to it for 2024. Who do I think is going to win this fight, though? That's a good question, because I did the breakdown, right? I had a few predictions, but as I sit back, I look at it a little bit more, right? I didn't do much of a full in-depth breakdown like I did with Poirier and Makhachev, but stylistically, it's a weird matchup, right? You got Sean, who is a boxing heavy guy, who I'm curious to see if he really does have that dog in him. Now, we know Sean's a savage, right? We know Sean's crazy. We know he's wild. He'll scream at you, yell at you. But I want to see when a guy like Paulo Costa is pushing and pressing the whole entire fight. Like, if he fights the same way he fought against Yoel Romero, I see that being a very difficult fight for Sean Strickland. Now, a lot of people talk shit about Paulo Costa. You think about his losses, right? Take away the Marvin Vettori fight. You know, that was during COVID, missed weight, all that kind of stuff. Take away the Marvin Vettori fight. His two losses come two former champions. Two former champions that reign over the division, right? So you can't even say that he's washed. You can't say that he sucks. He's not trash. He's none of that. He's none of that. And neither is Sean. So this fight is going to be extremely good. I can guarantee that. I don't see this fight going 3 rounds. That I don't see. I see a finish coming. I see somebody getting finished. Now, I don't really see Sean finishing Paulo Costa, but you never know. Sean finished... One of the guys I never expected Sean to finish was Abus. I did not think he was going to go in there and beat him the way he did, and he put the work to him, right? He looked good in that fight, and he got a finish, and I was happy for him seeing him get a finish. If he got a finish against Paulo Costa, though, that's fucking massive. That is massive for Sean Strickland. And again, you know, a good finish, a good fight, undeniable for a title shot. And that's how the game goes. And Sean's a big enough character, big enough personality to build himself back up and put himself back into the position to fight for the championship again. So we'll see what happens with that. But like I said, that co-main event is a great fight. Great fight. What else? Has anything else been going on? We do have, again, you know, so we got 302 this weekend. And then next weekend, we have a UFC Fight Night main event between Jared Cannonier and Nasruddin Imavov. Now, you're not talking about a title contention fight. You're not talking about, you know, winner is #1 contender. But for Jared Cannonier, any big win keeps him in the conversation. Now, Imavov has had some questionable losses, and he's had some decent wins, but I don't see him getting this win and being pushed into the #1 contender slot or anywhere even close. He's going to have to fight another guy in the top 5. He's going to have to continue to prove himself, and it depends on how he wins this fight, really. But Jared Cannonier is always one win away from keeping himself up there. He reminds me of Curtis Blades, because Curtis Blades, he always comes close, falls short, comes close, falls short, but he's always one good enough win, one decent finish away from getting a title shot. And that's exactly how it did happen for Curtis Blades. Think about it. He went up against Jailton Almeida. He was an underdog going into that fight. A lot of people thought Jailton Almeida was going to be able to beat him. Curtis Blades ends up getting the finish, knocks him out with a beautiful uppercut, right? And now look at him in Manchester. He's going to fight Tom Aspinall. I don't know if the interim strap's on the line. I haven't seen anything fully confirmed with that yet. So if somebody knows, if you're watching this video and you know, confirm for me down low. But I'm not 100% sure if that's for the interim. I don't know how that would even work. But when you fight and you get the wins, you get good performances, you actually put in the work and you show it, you end up getting what you deserve, right? A lot of people always say, oh, Belal deserved the title shot. Belal deserved the title shot. I agree. But when you put on boring performances and you're getting decision wins and you're ragdolling people but not finishing them, you're just laying on top of them, no one wants to see that. No one wants to see that. And you got to look at it from a business aspect. Obviously, as a fighter, you're not thinking the business aspect always because you're thinking of the aspect of winning. But there's the business aspect of it. You cannot put on boring fights. If you put on a boring fight and you're supposed to be a potential number one contender, you're going to lose it if someone else can overlap you by putting on a good performance. So always keep your foot on the gas when you're in that top of the division. Obviously, people are always hungry to reach the top of the division, but you got to stay hungry when you're in the top of the division to stay there and to stay putting on good performances. Don't worry about, maintaining this undefeated streak or anything like that. Because if you go out there and you're putting on a good performance and you lose, right, you're going to get another fight. You're going to continue to get fights. If you go out there and lose in a boring ass performance, you might not get another fight. You never know with the UFC. They will put you on the chopping block after one loss, right? There was one person that I was completely confused about, and I've said it a few times in the podcast, Talia Santos. Like, I was completely shocked when they cut her. She literally gave Valentina Shevchenko one of the toughest fights in that division, right? Up until Alexa Grasso, obviously, but gave her one of the toughest fights, and then she loses the fight against Erin Blanchfield and gets cut. And I don't know if there was something deeper to that. I don't know if the contract was over, whatever the case may be. But that's somebody, you put on a good performance and it makes sense, and then she loses and gets cut. You can be on the chopping block at any second. At any second. There are guys in the UFC that will go on 10-fight losing streaks and never get cut. But some dude will go 0-2 against two savages that he fought on short notice and he'll get cut. So that's just how the UFC works, right? You watch a guy like Chris Mutino. He's not an amazing fighter or anything like that. Got called in on short notice to go up against Sean O'Malley. He got pinged up, right? Then he lost a few more fights in the UFC and they cut him, okay? Makes sense. Michael Johnson, Alex Caceres, Jorge Masvidal, all these guys have plenty of losses. I'm not trying to dog them, but they had plenty of losses and they didn't get cut. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand how the cutting and the contract works. Michael Johnson was one of those guys, though. Every time he was on a losing streak, he'd come back getting the biggest win of his life, right? He's the type of dude to knock out the best fighter in the division and lose to the worst. That's just the way he always has been. But when you watch guys that are barely like 500 with their record, you're talking about guys that are like 17, 14, stuff like that. Like, they lost a lot and they didn't get cut. You see a guy lose 2 fights and he gets cut. So, good performances matter. They really do. Good performances matter. Now that I'm looking at it, though, this free fight night is actually not that bad. Like, this is one of the better ones we've had in a little while. You got Punahele Soriano coming back. You already know the powerful fist of Punahele going up against Miguel I think it's Baez, but it's spelled Baiza. I could be wrong though. Going up against him. Then you got Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't know why that's his name, but that's his nickname. He's going up against Zachary Reese. Then you got Bruno Ferreira going up against Dustin Stolfus. Bruno Ferreira had a crazy knockout. When was that? Yeah, Phil Hawes. That was a nasty knockout. That was his last win back in January. Disgusting KO. Disgusting KO. But yeah, he's going up against Dustin Stolfus. That could be a good scrap. Raul Rosas Jr. is finally getting that match with Ricky Turcios, the one that he pulled out right before the matchup in Mexico. I think it was on the Mexico City card. He ended up pulling out. He got sick or something like that right before the fight happened and had to pull out. So they've been sitting back. And this fight is a good fight to make. This kind of does test Raul Rosas Jr. a little bit. Ricky Turcios isn't like a top elite guy, but he's got enough skill. He knows enough, and he's not like Chinny or anything like that. He's stylistically weird. He's a little explosive, not like a Michael Chandler explosive, but like a quick kind of fighter explosive. So it's interesting. We can see what happens. I think he could defend a lot of the things that Raul's going to bring to him when it comes to takedowns and stuff like that. So we'll see, but that's a great fight. Then you got the return of Dominic Reyes, and he's going up against Dustin Jacoby. It's a good fight. You got Jared Cannonier versus Nassourdine Imavov. Great fight. Then we move on to another fight night. That's the Perez and Tyra one. We good on that. You know, let's take a more in-depth look at this Saudi Arabia card real quick. You got Johnny Walker versus Volkan Ozdemir. I love that fight. I really do love that fight. Two dudes that have, you know, put a lot of work in the light heavyweight division. They've always come close, but always fall short. Kind of chinny. I mean, Johnny Walker's chinny, but Volkan Ozdemir kind of chinny, right? But both of them could crack, so you can see a knockout in this fight for sure. I don't see this being a 3-round event at all. Then you got Muhammad Naimov going up against Melsik Bakadasarian. I don't know who either of those dudes are. Whoa. Like, whoa. I never heard of either of these dudes. Maybe Muhammad Naimov, but they must have just added that. Or it's not supposed to be on the main card and Google's got it all fucked up. But yeah, not hip. I'm not hip. I might sound like a casual on that one, but I ain't hip. Then you got Kelvin Gastelum with his return going up against D-Rod. Fun welterweight matchup. If Kelvin doesn't decide to wrestle and he just, you know, scraps, that fight could be really fucking fun. Then you got Pavlovich against Volkov. Can Volkov avoid the power of Pavlovich, or can he blitz him? Is Pavlovich going to be seen now as chinny from losing to Tom Aspinall? We don't know. You don't know how people get to judging and shit like that. And then you got Whitaker Chimaev. We already know the massive stakes for that one. So many fights in June. And then after going into July, all right, we don't really have nothing popping for July yet. Just the Manchester card is the only thing popping for July so far. And then you got August to Sanhagen and Nurmagomedov. So you really don't have too much yet. But here's another thing real quick while I still am here. I'm watching right now UFC 300 on the TV over here. I got it playing in the background. And Arman Tsarukyan is coming out. And this relates to this weekend's fight. Arman Tsarukyan, in his entrance, in his walkout on that night, UFC 300, he got into a slight fan altercation and he threw a punch. Dude gets in trouble, gets fined, is slightly suspended, and cannot be the backup fighter for Makhachev and Poirier. That blows. But that's what you get for beating Charlie Olives. You should have never done that, bro. Should have never have done that, bro. Honestly, shout out to Arman because he got out of some submissions that I don't think many people would have got out of. But I'm still pissed about that. Still pissed that you beat Charles. I'm pissed Islam beat Charles. I'm pissed about anybody ever beating Charles, for real. But it is what it is. I'm sour. I don't care. I'll admit it. But I just thought that was funny because I'm sitting here watching it and I actually just saw the moment of him throwing the punch at the fan and completely backfired. Keep you cool, big dog. Keep you cool. But that's it for this episode. You know me, just rambling about MMA stuff. I think I've repeated myself on all these cards for June because I've been so excited for them. I really don't know what else to talk about. Like, you get a little bit of news here and there. You get stupid tweets by guys like Joaquin Buckley talking about he could be at GSP. Shut the fuck up. You know you can't. You know you couldn't. You could just stop. Stop it. You're talking nonsense. You ain't beating that man, dog. You wouldn't beat that man now. Stop it. Stop it. Get some help. See, like, I can always talk about that type of stuff. I could talk about stupid tweets that people make. I could talk about different things that happen on social media, the different conversations. You know, you get the back and forths between Conor and everybody. You know, Conor's out here talking about, he's talking about he doesn't want to fight, or he doesn't want to talk shit. He doesn't feel like he needs to do the shit talking to the extent that he used to. Bro, you already know what he's bringing to the table for Michael Chandler is about to be volatile. He's about to bring some shit. They shot a whole season of The Ultimate Fighter together, right? He's going to have some shit to say that we didn't see that was on camera, or that was off camera, I mean. Like some stuff that happened that was off camera that we didn't get to see. He's going to mention stuff. He's going to throw some shots in there. Yeah, he might not get nasty, but it's going to be something. And you're talking about that press conference is going to be in Ireland? Good luck, Mike. Good luck, Mike. That's the only good luck I can give him, because I think Mike could win this fight. I really do think Michael Chandler could win that fight. But that right there is the same thing that defeated Jose Aldo before he even got in the octagon. Was having to deal with them Irish fans. So good luck, because he's 10 times the star he was then. This is his return fight. People have been waiting for it, anticipating it. Everybody thinks this is potentially a fight that he can get a good win. So yeah, good luck in Ireland, Mike. That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough press conference. How about Colby Covington fumbling the bag for that whole card too? Colby Covington had the opportunity to take on Ian Gary on that card. He could have also been in Ireland. He is one of the biggest loudmouth type of people that talks hellish shit. And it would have been crazy, man. It would have been crazy that press conference, whether it was in Ireland or one here, it would be crazy hearing Conor McGregor and Colby on the same thing, right? You got stuttering, mumbling Colby who can't even get his words out, sounding like Tito Ortiz up there. And then you got Conor McGregor who's just sharp as can be when it comes to any comeback, any shit talking, right? It would just be hilarious. But Colby ducked. He ducked Ian Gary. That is what we are talking about. That man ducked Ian Gary. That is fact. That is fact. He fumbled the bag big time. That UFC 303 card could have been massive with him on it, but he fumbled the bag on that. All right, now you got Ian Gary going up against MVP. Fans aren't going to be mad at that. We enjoy stuff like that. Hopefully we get to see a good matchup between those two. But like I said, Colby fumbled the bag on that one. Really did. Everything that was going to come, how much money you can make from this fight. No, I don't care what your fucking negotiations would be. No matter what, the fight is already sold out. It already sold more than any fight. From Dana White's word, it's already sold more than any fight in UFC history. So think about that. You fumbled the bag big time, bucko. If they would have offered me that and told me, bro, to show you're getting 50,000, fuck it. If I show at 50,000 and I knock this dude out cold in front of everybody at the biggest card, one of the biggest cards of the year at least, you're getting paid regardless. So fuck the negotiation shit. Colby fumbled the bag. But I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I think I rambled enough about the fight stuff. So you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell notification button so you know when the next episode out. And your boy Bando is going to catch you on that next episode. I'm out of here. Peace. Nah,